Alright, it's time for Hirus Q&A number 44, aka the last Q&A. Because from this point forward, I'm going to be putting the Q&As onto my alternate channel, the Azeroth Weather channel. Because if I do it over there, I can probably do these more frequently, and I really don't want any more low-performing series to appear on this channel, and the Q&A is probably the last holdout I have. So, without further ado, let's get into the questions from the last video, and start talking about them. Question number 1. What is your favorite lore character? Wrathion. Can't wait to see what he's doing in this next patch. What is your favorite WoW expansion? Probably Warlords of Draenor because it was the best. It had the best raid, Blackrock Foundry, and it had garrisons, which gave you so much gold, without having to really do anything. I can't really see how any other expansion can top Warlords of Draenor. Have you ever played Warcraft 1, 2, and 3? No. I've played a little bit of 3 in order to get footage for it, and I just turned on cheats to clear the level instantly. So I don't really know if that counts as playing it or not. You've mentioned using a fake voice for your videos. Yes, the voice you hear now is a fake voice. My real voice is more monotone. What does your real voice sound like? I mean like this, but with less energy in it. What were some times you thought of permanently quitting WoW? At the end of Mists of Pandaria, when my raid team fell apart, because I was with that raid team for, since Cataclysm. So, we raided all of Cataclysm, and then all of Mists of Pandaria, and then during Siege of Orgrimmar, the final raid, everyone just quit. They all stopped playing. And, after raiding with people for 4 years, that's a pretty good time you want to quit as well. And I was also hanging out with a friend who always wanted to hang out during my raid times. I was, not really into raiding anymore. And so I never actually quit, but I didn't raid for a couple of months. And I played a lot less than I had previously had, because I didn't really like Mists of Pandaria anyway. That was like one of my least favorite expansions. I just didn't really like the aesthetic of it or like anything about it. Well, not anything. I obviously liked Wrathion's involvement in everything. There were some things I liked, but overall I didn't really like it as much as a lot of the other expansions I played. And after a few months, I missed raiding. So I asked a friend if I could join his raid guild, and I just went back to it. And I never actually quit playing. I wanted to raid more. I had an itch. It just felt wrong not raiding, like on a couple of days a week. Yeah, can't really think of any other times I wanted to quit. Even now with our raid team, recently our raid team kind of broke apart, and then we joined in a new guild, and now we're raiding again. So that worked itself out. Next question. What are, in your opinion, the worst WoW zones to level in? Well, there's the Draenei starting zone. That is probably the worst zone to level in because it's so boring. I remember when I was playing that zone to do all of the starting zones for my video on the top 10 starting zones. I almost fell asleep trying to level through it because it was just lame. So if you're a Draenei, you have the worst starting zone. I saw in your videos that you said you don't have any friends. Would you give me your BattleNet to be friends and or play with me since I have no friends? This isn't actually a comment in the last Q&A. It is like a variation question I got asked a few times in the past couple of months. And I'm trying to figure out why it is. I like to meme about how I don't have friends. And I probably talked about it in one of my Azeroth Weather channel videos. The one where it's called, Is WoW a Good Single Player Game? And in that video I talk about how I like to play by myself. And how I don't have any friends. What's the word for it? I immediately want to say I was being facetious, but I don't know what that word means. Ironic? I don't know if that really fits. I have friends. None of them play WoW, though. So I basically play WoW. Well, I guess I do have friends who play WoW as well. They're people I met in WoW who play WoW, and I play WoW with them. I guess they count as friends. I technically do have friends. I just like to say that I don't have friends, to be relatable. That's what all the kids like. They like it when you say you don't have friends, you don't talk to anyone, you're always alone, you're depressed, and you no longer want to live, and you're a virgin, those kinds of things. I love to play all that stuff up, because I think it's really makes me artificially seem like I have some kind of personality. It's just something I do for fun. How many of those things are true? Who knows? I'd say a lot of them are. The whole, in 3 more years, I get my wizard powers. So because of those, like memes and stuff that I like to say on streams and some of these videos where I talk about myself, I'll sometimes get comments from people being like, hey, I saw in your video that you don't have any friends. If you want, I would be more than happy to be your friend. Here's my Battle.net, we can play together and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, that's really sweet. But, I wasn't being serious. And also, here's the thing. In my video on like single player games and stuff, I say I like to play WoW alone. And I mean it in the way that I enjoy playing WoW alone. I play alone all the time. That's my favorite thing to do when I'm playing WoW. And it's not because I can't play with other people. It's because I specifically want to play it by myself. So sending me a message saying that we can play together because I always play alone, really goes against the fact that I like to play alone and I don't want to play with other people. It's really counterintuitive. That's why I'm kind of like surprised about all the messages I was getting about it. Like it's nice and everything. It's really sweet. It's just I like to play alone, and I don't understand why people take that as he only plays alone because he, doesn't have friends and can't play with other people. Otherwise, why would anyone, purposefully play WoW by themselves? It's a MMO. It's a multiplayer online game. It's meant to be played with other people. He must be lonely and lying and actually just needs a friend. And it's like, no. I just really like doing things on my own. I'm a huge antisocial loner. I have a few close friends and then a couple of fans I talk to. And even then, I don't really talk to people very much. I prefer to just... my natural state is not to talk to anyone. I just want to go on and do my own thing. And even when I do group content, I usually don't talk to them very much. You can do an entire LFR or M+ dungeon or even a island expedition without talking to anyone, which is great. You technically do need people to do those, but you're basically doing it single player. You're not interacting. You're not talking to the other people. They're not getting in your way. They might as well just be NPCs. And also playing the auction house too. You don't actually talk to any of the people you sell your stuff to. They buy it through a third-party system, the auction house. You don't actually have to interact with anyone, despite the fact that you can't play the auction house without a whole bunch of other people to buy from. So yeah, the whole not having friends thing, that's kind of a joke I like to say. I'm going to keep saying it. This is the only video where I'm going to admit that I have friends. I really like saying I don't have any. I think it's really funny. I don't add anyone to Battle.net, and if I do, I always tell them there's one little caveat. Occasionally I add people for legitimate reasons. The reasons you add people to Battle.net is to play with them and certain things and stuff. Anyways, I always tell anyone I add, don't ever talk to me. Don't ever send me a message, especially if I'm in WoW, because there's a good chance I'm getting footage for something. And if you send me a message, it won't ruin the footage, but that does mean I'm going to have to edit it out. And I don't like having to edit chat. It's a pain in the ass. So I just have this whole blanket, don't ever message me when I'm in Battle.net. And if you're never going to message me, then why would you need to be friends in the first place? Also, it really goes into this old story. I've told it before, but it's not that I, hate people who ask me that. It's just... Here's why I don't just add, a whole bunch of fans to Battle.net. So I have this alternative account I created just to play Heroes of the Storms with fans. Because I loved playing HOTS on stream. And I don't really do that very much anymore, though. Because whenever I play Heroes of the Storm on stream, I lose a whole bunch of people. People don't really like to watch it. It's not really a fun thing to stream because I'm too focused on the match to actually read chat anyway. People don't like to watch it, and I usually lose a lot because it's just a lot of people who want to, play a game with me, but they probably never played Heroes of the Storm before. So we just lose a lot because I also have a really high MMR in the game. So in order to solve that problem, I created an alternate account, which was fresh, like a Smurf account, on like a different Battle.net account. And on that one, I just added everyone. There was no reason not to. Because I was only going to use it, to play with fans. So one day, I logged onto that alternate account just to check something. I forget what it was. I think HOTS was having like some special deal where they were giving heroes for free. And I was like, ooh, I should go do that on my alt account. Because I'm not going to pay any money into that account. And when I logged on, I was instantly bombarded with like 20 messages. Very nice messages. All of them just asking how I was doing, if I wanted to play. Saying they were fans of whatever the newest video came out. And it was super sweet, but also I was in the middle of something at the time. Like I was making a video and I was just logging on real quick to go check something. I was in the middle of editing. I wasn't going to stop to reply to all these people, but I also felt really bad that I was going to ignore all of them. So that's why I don't do it. It makes me feel bad when I ignore them, but at the same time, I have to. I only have so much time in the day. There's so many things I have to work on. Very busy person. So it's not personal, and I do legitimately, appreciate my fans, because I wouldn't be able to do this job without them. Like, is there any YouTuber who, like, shit talks their fans? They're literally retarded because they need their fans in order to, do what they do. But sometimes there's some people that do it and their fans love it, so whatever. If it works for them. It's actually pretty rare, though. Like, most YouTubers and streamers, they all appreciate their fans. It might even sound just like lip service when they're saying it. It's like, oh, thanks for, the $2. Really appreciate it. The thing is, though, they really do appreciate it because they wouldn't be able to do that, without having a large following. So, yeah, that's why I also just feel bad when I say I can't add people. It's just a whole layer of, it's impractical, I can't do it, but I also feel bad when I have to say no. So, on to the next one. Why didn't you tell me you had a Yu-Gi-Oh channel? Fudge. For those of you who don't know, I have a second Yu-Gi-Oh channel. I have a lot of channels. Most of them are not successful. Yu-Gi-Oh channel, exception. It is successful. It does very well for itself. It has currently 65,000 subscribers. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it gets so many views per month that to compare it to a well-known, like WoW YouTuber, for example, my Yu-Gi-Oh channel per month gets more views than like Noble87, the famous lore YouTuber with 500,000 subscribers. To give you an idea of how well that channel does for itself, despite its low sub count, which is growing. So yeah, I have two successful channels. One of them happens to be about Yu-Gi-Oh! I only mention it in videos like these because there's no reason to mention it in the real videos I make. Okay, next one. If you need an editor for your Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos, I actually have experience with the game and I have edited a lot of videos for it. I much prefer editing to scripting anyway. Yeah, you and me both. This comment was made by a Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTuber, actually. Because I think I talked about how I had editors for my Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos. Because I do. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a later on question that's going to come up. But the thing is, I don't need another editor right now. I'll definitely keep you in mind, though, if one of my other editors drop out. Because I already have 2 people working on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel. But the thing is, I just read this one because, I much prefer editing to scripting anyway. Yeah, so do I. Editing is so much easier than scripting. Scripting a video doesn't take as long. It's not a very time-consuming process, but it is really difficult because there's a lot that goes into creating a script. Like the psychology behind it, of how to create a interesting opener, how to make your information be presented in an entertaining way that won't put people to sleep. That's why you had boring teachers in school, because they didn't care. They just read from the textbook directly, with a very monotone voice. You have to keep a lot of things in mind when you're doing this. And you have to have a good idea too. You have to, I don't know. There's a lot. And then when you're editing it, you're just basically putting the video together. You don't have to think about that kind of stuff. You're just putting the footage in. That's definitely the easier part, even if it is the more time-consuming part. Okay, so next question. Have you ever played any of the games in the Neptunia series? Kind of a guilty pleasure for me, but the memes are fun. No, I have heard of it. I've seen that it's popular, I think. And I tried watching the anime of it once, and it was incredibly generic. Like, I like the character designs and everything, and it was in a fantasy world. And I'm usually all for that shit, but... Oh, I shouldn't say cuss words. This isn't the Weather Channel where it's not monetized. I'm usually into that kind of thing, but it was so generic and like childish that I dropped it. And it really made me not want to play any of the games either. Even though I did try one of the games too. And it just seemed like a very generic JRPG. So I was like, I'm not interested. I mean, if there's something really great about them, I'll probably try it again. Because there's a lot of games in this series. And it seems like that would be a good franchise to be a fan of. You know, if you actually like those games. But I didn't really give the game a good try. I just downloaded it because I got it for free from PlayStation Network, I think. I played it for like 5 minutes and then dropped it because I was like, I don't want to learn how to play this game. Next question. Wow, a high school coach made you play while injured during an ordinary match? He was probably raised on the fight through the pain mantra. Yeah, so in the last Q&A, I talked about how I hurt my knee in the middle of a match, and they didn't actually let me leave the match until way later on. Like, I heard it in the first quarter, or the second quarter, and they didn't let me leave the match until the fourth quarter, which is an incredibly long time in football. That's probably like an hour later of constant playtime, while basically only being one-legged, because my leg was, I tore my meniscus in my knee, so I was in a really stiff brace for 6 months, and I had to play for an hour in a freshly destroyed leg. The thing is, though, I talked about how I went to the coach, and they told me just to stay in. The thing is, though, I didn't really communicate well enough what was wrong with my leg, and I also didn't think it was that big of a deal either. Because lots of football players, they just play through minor injuries all the time. In fact, we had one guy, I still remember this. It was not an important game at all. It was in the juniors league, where we're basically just playing for fun. And one of the guys broke their finger, and he didn't tell the coach. He just taped it up and just kept playing. That's the kind of mentality there is in football. Like, the coaches, if you're injured, they don't want you to play while injured. They'll take you out. They very much care about people not getting more injured than they already are. Most players will completely downplay how injured they are, or just keep playing anyway. And I was the same way. So while I may have been in a lot of pain, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, because I was young and stupid, and that was the first time I've ever been injured that badly before. So it wasn't really the coach's fault. It was more of my fault. Yeah. Our coaches were actually really good. If I had told them, it was like, no, it's really painful, and they would be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, don't play. Come out. Because they have done that before. So, next question. What do you think of Bolvar at the moment? And do you think he will make a massive return? And if so, when? No. I don't think they're going to do anything with Bolvar. More than him being a minor character. Even though I've seen lots of very, well thought out and produced theory videos about Bolvar doing something amazing or being part of the next expansion. I don't think any of that's going to happen. There's no indication that that's going to happen. They're not building anything up in that direction. Except minor stuff, like revealing Bolvar's daughter in Kulturas, and some of the worrying things he said during the Death Knight Order Hall campaign. But they probably set that up for, just to give Bolvar some more character. I don't think that really means he's gonna be a villain or anything, or really impact the story too much. He's really all about just staying in Northrend and just keeping the balance with his undeads and threatening Death Knight sometimes and other things, but nothing big enough where it really justifies all of the speculation that he's going to, be a major character soon. Even with Sylvanas, because I don't necessarily agree that Sylvanas is going to go the bad guy route, but I'm not super convinced she won't either because of some of the things they've been hinting at. I'd be very surprised if this story involved Bolvar, though, because they're not hinting at it. I think people who are just really reaching when it comes to Bolvar for some reason. But, then again, they could do it. Never say never. Anything can happen. Although I think the chances of it happening are very low. So, next question. Any plans for doing a villains corner for minor villains, such as Zanzil from Zul'Gurub? Yes. I would love to do more villains corners on minor villains. Especially Zanzil. Like, I actually know who Zanzil is, without having to look him up when I wrote this question down. He's the guy who creates that potion that rogues can buy, that kills you in 7 days. And his name is attached to a lot of potions in the game. Like Zanzil, he's a very influential alchemist. I would love to talk about him in a video. The thing is, though, like, the Villains Corner videos take an incredibly long time to make. And they're very costly in time and money. I would like to do all of the villains eventually, but that's probably going to take years. So, like, minor villains are kind of low on the priority list, even though we've already done Hogger and the Headless Horseman. Like, we've already done some minor villains. They're not off the table. It's just, other bigger ones attract more views, which means more money to self-sustain the series, because it's already kind of running at a loss. But the popularity of the series, the people who like it really like it, make it worth, pursuing anyway. Next question. Do you play D&D? And if so, can you explain how and when you got into it? I started playing it back in 2016. A friend of mine asked if I wanted to play because her brother was going to run a campaign. I was like, sure. I have always wanted to try it because I've heard some great things about it from some YouTubers. And we got into it, and I did very badly. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And the GM wasn't very new player friendly, even though he knew me and my friend were brand new players. So I had a very hard time with my first campaign, because I'd go up and like, okay, I want to convince this guy to do this thing. He's like, all right, how are you going to do it? It's like, do I roll for it? And he's like, no, how are you going to convince him? It's like, I don't know. And I would just say something, funny. And he's like, that doesn't work. And they attack you. I was like, what? Aren't you supposed to, roll for these kinds of things? And he's like, no. And then we just got into a battle and we almost died because our party was terrible. And I just couldn't, every time I tried to suggest something, it was, shot down, or it was like, that's not part of the rules, or you can't do that. Without offering, like any alternatives or, suggestions to it. It was, not a very fun experience. And I played again anyway, a different game, and I kind of knew what I was doing, and it went a little bit better. And then I played another campaign, and that one went way better, because the GM was much more lax, and it was a lot more fun. And then I'm playing again with that same GM, and now that I actually know what I'm doing, his games are really fun. It was just not new player friendly, but if you know what you're doing, then, it's actually really good. And then I am currently running my own game, with a couple of Patreons. Yeah, so I'm currently running my own game with some Patreons from my Discord. And that's a lot of fun. Like, DMing a game is, I think, way more fun than actually playing it as a character. I liked D&D. It was fun and everything. I didn't really start loving it until I started DMing it. Now it's just so much fun. I watch all kinds of D&D videos and stuff, and I bought so many things from the Roll20 marketplace store. It's great. I'd highly recommend it, especially DMing. That's way better than actually playing the game. That's probably because I'm more used to creating things. And I used to play with action figures and toys until I was in high school. And I would still play with them today, if I could. It's just I don't have that childhood-like imagination anymore. I wish I could just sit down and play with my toys like I used to. My action figures, and like go into my own world with their own plot devices and character stories. That doesn't happen anymore. I grew out of it, sadly. And I really wish I hadn't. But DMing kind of reminds me of that. Next question. Why would people have a problem with you playing the game while you were talking? That makes zero sense to me. If people are watching this and not listening, why would they want to watch you do nothing? There are a couple of people who complain, that I play video games while I'm doing the Q&A. Not a lot of people. Most people say, it's not a big deal. Well, I'm not doing it now. That's because I just kind of wanted to read through these questions as fast as possible. And I can get through that a lot faster if I'm not playing the game, so I kind of understand some of it. Like, I do get distracted if I'm playing the game while doing the Q&A. I do think it's better that way anyway, so I'm probably going to keep doing it. Just not for this one, though. Or the last one, where my hands hurt too much to play the game. My hands are doing much better now. My right hand, I just needed to rest it. I was just overused from using it too much to make up for the fact that I can't use my left hand. And my left hand is not healed. It's much better than it was doing before, though. I can actually use it to play video games with. Just not too much. I have to do a lot of concessions with it. I need to go to another doctor to get it checked out. It's not going to heal on its own. It's definitely... the doctor said it's probably carpal tunnel, then I got some x-rays, and then they never called me back for the results. So, screw that doctor. I'm just going to go to another one who's not retarded. So, let's go into the next question. I'm guessing you already answered this one because it's pretty unoriginal, but will you ever make a video on gold farming / the way you used to do it? The answer to that is maybe. Like, off the top of my head, I can't see why I would make that video. I can't see a way to market the video where people would want to watch it. Like, there's so many video ideas I can make, just about really random shit that only pertain to me. Like, this is my favorite zone, talking about Bolvar or something and why I like it. That's a terrible video idea because it's just my personal opinion. It would be easy for me to make because I'm basically just talking, about my opinion and, trying to justify it. But people don't care about my opinion, on a whole. My channel wasn't built around my opinions on things. My channel was built around talking about facts about things. So if I was going to talk about Mulgore, I wouldn't be able to talk about it in a way, that it's my favorite zone. I'd have to connect it some other way. In like a top 10 video, like, I don't know, top 10 grassiest zones or something. Terrible video idea as well, but would do better than, the original one. And in that video, I could talk about how much I like Mulgore. I have to really frame these videos better. Because if I just talk about, this is how I used to farm, no one's going to watch that. It won't perform well. Because people don't care about farming gold from my channel. And they don't care about me, so they wouldn't care about how I used to farm gold. On a whole, obviously there's going to be some people. It's not a full... This is like a generalized statement. So, that being said, it does seem like something I'd like to talk about. That does sound like a fun video to make, but it won't do well, and I have so many other videos I could do instead. Like, my time is limited. I can only have so much time in the day to do things. So I can't waste that time on videos like that, which would take a significant amount of time to make and not perform well, when I could have made something else that would have performed well, because I have, like, hundreds of ideas, literally hundreds of ideas, that will perform well, and that just need me to make them. And it's impossible for me to make all those videos already. But also, maybe I can find a way to frame that. That's kind of how it is with my channel. I have it run very efficiently, to the point where I can't really make superfluous videos unless they don't require a lot of editing, which something like that obviously would. Because if I'm going to do a video like that, I want it to look good. So I hope that answers the question, because I did, like I said, I used to be really into gold making, so that'd be fun to talk about what I used to do. But I don't gold farm nowadays, so I wouldn't make a video on that. And gold videos don't really do well anyway. You'd have to find a really good way to frame that. Kind of like the video I made last year, why farming isn't free. Basically talking about, what was it, your time investment? It's a strange concept for people. Normal people don't value their time for some reason. It's like, back in the day, when I used to make gold videos, I didn't used to make gold videos. Back in the day when I used to make gold in WoW, as if it was my second job, I used to read a lot of gold guides and gold blogs, because they didn't really have YouTubers back then. And in these gold blogs, one of the things they would always talk about, is you have a limited amount of time in a day. So you have to pick and choose what you're going to do, what's the most efficient way to make gold for a day, and stuff like that. It was very time constrained because there's so many ways to make gold in WoW that you obviously can't do all of them. So you have to consolidate them down to the ones that make you the most amount of gold, for the least amount of time. With also the least amount of effort, which always came down to just crafting professions. And so the notion of not having an unlimited amount of time was very ingrained in all of these gold bloggers, and they'd always joke about farming. And how people would, message them in the chat and say like, "Ooh, I farmed all these materials so they're free. How much should I post them for?" And they would always mock these people, because it's like, farming isn't free. You use time to get those materials. That's not free unless you don't value your time. And that was what the video was about, talking about why time isn't free, why even if you don't value your time, it still has value. And so many people just didn't get it. That was like a passion project video of mine. I've always wanted to make that video to talk about, I forget what it is. I think there's an actual word for it in economics. I'm blanking on it right now, though. But basically, even if you don't value your time, time is still valuable, because that time could have been spent doing something else, And I made the video. I tried to talk about it from as many different angles as I could. I tried to anticipate, commonly asked questions and then go over them. I really tried my best to talk about why time, farming isn't free, and why your time means something. And I still got so many comments of just people missing the point. And I can't believe it. I don't know how I could make the video. Because, if people miss the point of a video on a large scale, it's not their fault. It's the creator's fault, the person who made the video. It is on you to get your point across. It is not on other people to get your point, if you were being very subtle and everything. Some people will. There's always going to be some people who will get it. But if a large amount of people, miss the point of the video, then you did a bad job. That's just how it is. There's lots of, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but many YouTubers and streamers and people in the entertainment industry who, have any kind of moderate amount of fame, they all have huge egos. So I love seeing this actually, when other YouTubers make a video about some kind of point and then everyone misses it, and they'll make another video talking about how their audience is stupid. It's like, how could you guys miss the point of the video? It's so obvious and blah, blah, blah. They can just go into it. And I think that's so funny, because it just reminds me of all these people are so egotistical, because obviously it wasn't their fault. They didn't, they explained their points. Everyone was just too stupid to get it. So it's their fault. They don't even think about the fact that they probably failed in trying to get their point across. And there was also this whole series of videos going around for a while called Subjectivity is Implied. I thought that was funny too. That was basically a whole, you guys are too stupid to get my point. Anyways, that was a huge detractor from this topic that's already a detractor. In the video, I failed because I wasn't able to get my point across to a majority of people. And I thought I did a good job, so I don't know how I can cover that topic again. Unless I just go over the comments from that video and literally just spell it out to people. Like, your time is valuable. just because you don't do anything with your time, just because you use that time to farm, just because you're on disability and you're at home all day and you use that time to farm, that doesn't mean your time is unlimited. You still have a limited amount of time, and you're choosing to do these things, and that doesn't make your farming free. Like, I don't know how to get this point across to people. I don't think it's possible. It's just something that normal people don't understand, and I don't know how to make them understand. But that was a passion project of mine. Even though I knew the video wouldn't do well, I knew it was going to be hard to make, but I've always wanted to make that video because it's such a underlying fundamental idea behind gold making. And YouTube making, of course. Like, a lot of stuff I learned when I was gold making directly applies to YouTube making. So, good life lessons. I mean, they are basic economic principles, so it would make sense that they would apply over to a business. But yeah, that's all that to say. That's why I'm not going to make a video on farming, because I don't know how it would do well. And I tried to make a gold video last year, and it didn't do well. But that was because it was a passion project of mine, and I didn't expect it to do well. I'm not very passionate, about my old farming stuff. It's something I'll probably just talk about in a Q&A. And you guys may think I'm exaggerating or something, but literally look up that video I made and go to the comments. It is baffling how many people don't understand that very simple concept. And you understand why I gave up trying to explain it. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. I really wanted to blitz through all these questions and get them done quickly. Alright, next one, I found it. Your offhand comments about Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the last year or so is actually what got me back into it. I started rewatching the show again with my roommates and have grinded to level 55 in Duel Links since December thanks to you. I'm glad I got you back into Yu-Gi-Oh! That's great. I get that comment a lot in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos. So that's great. That means I'm creating more fans for the channel. Next question. I like your content in Matt's season shows too. Would be cool to see you two together. Maybe a versus battle on more WoW trivia and bring in someone to host. Anyways, gonna have to listen to the rest. Take care. That sounds like a good idea. I wouldn't mind having a trivia showdown with Mad Season Show. I love to use Mad Season Show as an example of someone who's doing well at YouTube. I remember when Belluar made a video, I think he talked about it in a couple of his videos, about how WoW YouTube videos don't do well anymore because the game is dying. And it's that's not true. I mean, that's true for news videos, because people are unhappy with the current state of WoW, so they're not really looking up current events on WoW. But if you're making videos about nostalgia about WoW, the good old days, those videos are doing as well as ever. And I noticed when he was showing his data, he only showed, current event news channels, one similar to his. And he completely ignored, mine and Mad Season Show's channel, because our channels are doing well. Mad Season Show especially, his channel doing very well. He knows exactly what he's doing. I love to use him in an example as someone who knows what they're doing on YouTube. I even explained it during a stream. Yeah, the stream I did last week. Someone asked about it, and I was like, you know what, let me show you. And I went to his channel, and I went through his videos, and I was talking about, all the good things he was doing. That guy's really smart. He makes good videos, and he knows what he's doing. He's like my spirit animal. He even has the same voice as me. It's just, I put a lot of effort into the voice I have now. Whereas his, people got used to it, so they like the monotonous. But that's how my voice used to be as well. Just go watch my earlier videos. And yeah, if Matt sees everyone do collab, I would love to do one. It's just, collabs are time consuming and they don't really get views. They're not worth the effort, especially for two similar sized channels like ours. It's, even if collabs in themselves aren't really worth the effort in general, there's not too much merits to them other than all the time that goes into it. Because there's lots of smaller YouTubers who incorrectly think, getting a shout out from a big one will make or break their channel. It'll definitely help them if they're a brand new channel or something, or they have a little bit of subs. It is a positive for them, but it's not worth the amount of effort some of them go into to try to get, shout outs and stuff. And some people get really indignant about it, really mad that, the big ones aren't giving them a chance. And it's like, it's not going to help you that much anyway. Maybe try to make your videos better. That will get people to watch them. So, anyways, let's go on to the next question. Hey, Hero, do you have an account on my anime list? And if so, can I add you as a friend? I do have an account on my anime list. I had to look at it for a second, because there's a couple of anime listing sites. Yeah, that's the one I have an account on. My anime list name is Kaon Red, and you can add me as a friend. I don't know what that means. I rarely use the site. I update it maybe a couple of times a year at most. Because I watch anime all the time. I'm a huge anime fan. I just only ever talk about it in things like this. They don't really show up in my video very much. So, next question. Didn't you say at one Q&A, don't remember which, that your fake voice is basically your real voice now? Yeah, that is kind of true. Like, whenever I'm talking to people, I default to, like, a lesser version of my YouTube voice. And I don't really use my normal voice very much. Like, I actually notice when I'm using my normal voice, because it's like, oh, maybe I should put more energy into my voice. Maybe I shouldn't use my boring voice. And it's gotten to the point where my fake voice is just basically kind of my real voice, but it's really half and half. It's not, I fully use my fake voice now, but I definitely use it way more than when I'm just, streaming or making videos. So, next question. In your next Q&A, can you show us your real voice for a few seconds? The thing is, with my real voice, is once I get into the zone of using my fake voice, it just becomes natural, and I just do it, because I've been practicing for so long. So I really have to, like, physically try to use my old voice. Not my old voice. My quote-unquote real voice. Okay, I'll try my best. I'm gonna have to take a few seconds to get into it. Alright. I'm gonna try my best to do the rest of this thing in my natural speaking voice. It's really hard. Whenever I'm reading from a thing on screen or talking into a mic, my natural inclination is to use my fake voice, so I'm really fighting it right now. And it almost just sounds like I'm trying to talk quieter, but I'm not. I'm just specifically not trying to put, energy into my voice like I usually do. So, let's go on to the next one. In the next Q&A, can you show us your real voice for a few seconds? Sure, this is kind of what it is. Next question. Do you have a P.O. box? Or if not, ever plan on getting one? I don't have a P.O. box. I don't really want to get one. I can't really, since my channel isn't very personality based, people don't really care about me very much. So having a P.O. box just seems like the height of arrogance. I'd make one, and sure, some people would send it, but it seems like a lot of effort for something I don't really care too much about. I probably wouldn't post any of the things on my social media. I definitely wouldn't make a video about opening them. And even then, since it was my birthday recently, I made a Amazon wish list, and I just posted it to the Patreon only section of my Discord, and they sent me some gifts for my birthday through that, since I won't make a P.O. box. So that was a nice workaround for a very temporary thing. Goes through the Amazon wish lists, it won't show my address or any way else they can find out where I live, which is what a P.O. box is for, so people can send them stuff, without having to know their address and other information. And I don't, that's not really something I'm going to do with the channel. It would just be stuff I'd read in private, which some people would be fine with. But also, I can't imagine I'd get enough messages or things sent in where it would really be worth the effort to go to the stupid post office and set that up, or to check it every once in a while. It's just a huge pain, and I'd rather not bother with that if I don't have to. So, next question. Why do you use someone else to edit your videos? Is editing that difficult? Just asking because I have no idea. Have you ever edited your own videos? So, I remember I was working with a person who makes machinimas, and they weren't a fan of my channel very much. They knew of me, but they've never actually watched my videos. And I was talking to them, to get a series made for the channel, which ended up falling through. And that person thought I had never made any of my own videos before, and thought I was just like a manager who hired talented people to actually make the videos for me. And it's like, no, like 99% of the videos on my channel I made myself, start to finish. It's only recently that I've had other people actually, put other videos up on the channel that they made. Well, 99, that's not really accurate. It's more like 95% of the videos I made myself, 100%. And recently, I've gotten some editors, and what they do is we basically work together on a video. Like, I always create the topic, and then I write the script, and then I voice the lines, and then we talk about, the visuals and stuff. Like, it's different for all the editors. Like, when I work with the Grim, I basically just send him the lines and the script, and then he puts the video together all on his own. And then I look at it and just give it the okay. And that's basically it. He also, makes the thumbnails, too, which is super helpful. And then for the other editors, like the Yu-Gi-Oh ones, I make the script, and then I have to set up the cards for them, because none of my Yu-Gi-Oh editors actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! So when I make the script, I'll sometimes talk about cards without saying the name of those cards, but I want those cards to appear on the screen. So, for example, I'm talking in the videos oh, and this card does really good against burn damage. Anyways, on to the next topic. At that point, I would want them to put a burn card on the screen, but they don't play Yu-Gi-Oh!, so they wouldn't know what to put there. So I have to go into the script and say, put Sparks here. And I'd, put a link to the card. And then they would, when they're making the video, they put that in at the appropriate place. So, I have to, plan out the video for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ones, because they don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! So there's a lot more that goes into that. And then sometimes Fel has been experimenting with one of my other editors for the WoW channel. He's been experimenting with writing the scripts. So he'll send me the script that he's written, and I'll take it and I'll just completely rewrite it and send it back. And then he'll look it over, and then I'll record the lines and give it to him, and then he makes the video. And I just send him a couple of things, background footage sometimes, the intro to it, because that requires After Effects. And I think with one of the videos, he did a really good job with the scripts. I didn't really have to rewrite much of it, because the scripts have to be written in my own voice. There's a couple of things that I do in videos that aren't really noticeable, because, if you're doing a good job, no one will notice. Those kinds of things. So I haven't had to really rewrite as many of those scripts, but then again, he hasn't really done too many of those. He's basically working on the third ever one right now. And it's looking good so far from what I've seen. I doubt I'll have to rewrite much of that one. So, I am very involved in the process of making the videos that they edit. And I also edit my own videos. I still make other videos while my editors are making videos. It's not like I no longer edit because they do it for me. It's more like I'm able to just make more videos now because I also have editors who are working on videos. Same with the Villains Corner stuff. I write the script, and then I send it off to her, and then she'll send the script back and be like, well, I'm going to write a page for this line. I'm going to do a drawing for this here. And she maps it out. I'm like, okay, good. And then she'll do the sketches and send them to me, and I'll be like, oh, these are great. And then she does the final drawings and she sends them to me, and then I put the video together. And that takes months because drawings take forever. That's because the videos are really good. So yeah, I have editors, but it's, you might understand why I don't have any time now, because, I'm working with 4 people. And I'm also making videos myself as well. All of that takes an incredible amount of time. And the reason I hire editors is because editing is such an incredibly time-consuming process that while it may be easy to do, I don't have an unlimited amount of time. You know, like I talked about a little bit earlier with the gold making thing. I only have so much time in the day, and I don't want to kill myself by working nonstop 24/7. Because my body already shut down from trying to do that. So I have to limit how much I can work. So, you know, how much can I actually get done in a day where I'm taking healthy amounts of breaks? You know, and also working with, you know, the 4 other people and make sure they have stuff to work on, while also working on my own projects and managing everything else that goes, you know, behind the scenes with YouTube, like, you know, actually talking to these people and, you know, making sure they get paid. And all the other, there's just so much back-end stuff that goes into YouTube as well. There'll be some days where I don't actually work on a video and I'm doing nothing but, you know, just business shit. So yeah, there's definitely some YouTubers who don't really put anywhere near as much effort into it as I do. So they're probably able to be much more successful while putting out videos that are, you know, passable and in a reasonable time frame. But, you know, I have 2 successful channels this way. I think it's working, and my biggest thing is trying not to work too much. And that's what the editors are for. Because I have those editors making more videos, I'm able to make more money, which allows me to pay them. So, it's like a win-win all around. You guys get more videos, the channels become more successful, and I mean, I make more money off of that, which is great. It's also nice just to have, like, if it wasn't for the editors, I wouldn't have been able to grow my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Like, those top 10s, that definitely exploded the channel's growth rate, just would not have happened without editors, because that's too time-consuming. Like, to give you a little indication of how long it takes. So, the last video I made, Factor Crap Wrath of the Lich King, like, that video, I made it as quickly as possible, you know, just as like a test to myself. Like, how fast can I make one video from start to finish? I had a lot of prompts already, so it wasn't really a good indication. But from start to finish, I was able to make the video in 5 hours. So I spent 2 hours on the script, because the Factor Crap video, you know, the script is very important to the video itself, but the editing is super easy. So once I got the script done, I recorded the audio, I put the, you know, I did all the audio editing shit, and I went into 3 hours of editing. And I have mountains of footage just saved on a whole bunch of hard drives of everything you can think of. So I was able to basically just use footage I got in the past in order to, put the video together. I only had to actually go out and get footage of 2 things, despite the fact that the entire video has footage for every single part of it. And that's why I was able to do it in 3 hours, because I already had all the footage. If I didn't have the footage, that would significantly have increased the amount of time the video took. But because I had all that, I was able to do the video from start to finish in 5 hours, which is super fast. That's an incredibly fast time to make a video, especially one that's almost 10 minutes long. And the average time to make a video for like everything else is like 4 to 8 hours. If it's especially a long one, it's way longer than that. And just if I did all the editing myself, I would just be constantly editing all day. And that's basically what I used to do. But editing itself is a very mind-numbing process. It's not something you can do for extended periods of time without breaks, because it's just very draining. It's, I don't know, have you ever studied particularly hard for a test, or, taking a test or something in school or something? It's a lot of mental effort. It's not a very easy thing to do. So doing many, many hours of it at a time is very draining. And that's not something you can really do every day. You need breaks. So that's what the editors are for, to do the very time-consuming part of it, even if the work itself is not all that difficult. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Wow, thanks for answering my Magic the Gathering question. Absolutely flattered. But the MTG Arena has the tooltip to explain every keyword when you hover your mouse over the card. Yeah, I know that. Like, Hearthstone does the same thing. I was talking about how I like to watch the MTG top 10s of this one guy, and he doesn't explain keywords. So I'd have to look them up myself. And I was like, man, if you would just explain what the fuck the keyword did, your videos would be so much better. And that's why in my Yu-Gi-Oh videos, I explain very simple concepts in every video. Because I always expect, like one of the things I do with my videos, I always expect, that video is the first one they've ever seen on my channel. So I don't just assume they have a whole bunch of knowledge about, a whole bunch of other things. I try my best to make them all new player friendly. Which I get lots of positive comments about, people saying that they've never played Yu-Gi-Oh before, but they loved how they understood everything in the video. And I was like, yes, if only this Magic the Gathering top 10 YouTuber would take on the same mindset, his videos would be so much more enjoyable. Anyways, that's what I was talking about, the keywords and stuff. I'm sure in the video game you can just look them up there. I personally think that Defender's Advantage in MTG requires much more strategic thinking than, say, Hearthstone. I'm sure it does, in the same way that having to last hit in League of Legends or Dota requires more strategy than not last hitting, like in Heroes of the Storm. But that doesn't make it better. I hate last hitting. I played, Dota 2 was my main MOBA, because I love MOBAs. And I played the hell out of that game. And then as soon as Heroes of the Storm came out, I tried it, and I fell in love with not having to last hit. I was so glad I didn't have to last hit anymore, because it's such a stupid-ass mechanic. And I don't know why it's in the game. It's so dumb. I hate it. I get it. It's skillful and everything, but it's stupid skill. I will absolutely argue with anyone who says they love last hitting, because I think, actually, if you love last hitting, that's fine. That's a preference. If you like to do that kinds of things, hey, that's good for you. But I will argue the fact that it's a good mechanic, because I think it's stupid as hell. So yeah, when you say that kind of argument, personally, Defender's Advantage requires more strategic thinking than Hearthstone. That doesn't really endear me to the mechanic, because technically last hitting requires more strategic thinking as well. But last hitting isn't good. Just like I don't think the Defender's Advantage in Magic the Gathering is good. I think it's a stupid system. Okay, let's go on to this next part. Okay, let me try this. What if I told you there was a red/blue card called the 1,000-Year Storm, which is essentially the MTG version of the Storm Call from Skyrim? There has to be a YouTube video on that, huh? I'm not really a Skyrim fan, so I don't know what that means. I assume this is supposed to be a really awesome reveal to endear me to Magic the Gathering. Like I said, I don't really have negative feelings about the game, because like I said, I watch YouTube videos on the topic. I watch this one top 10 guy who makes top 10s on Magic the Gathering videos. I've seen almost all of his videos, despite the fact that I don't play the game or like it very much. I wish I liked the game, because it's so popular, and so many of my friends play it, but I don't. Another one of the things I hear about Magic the Gathering is that, some people might not like the game, but they love the art. The art is one of the worst parts for me. I hate the art of Magic the Gathering. It reminds me of, fantasy book covers from, fantasy books from the 50s or something. It has that really ugly aesthetic to it where it looks old or, grainy, and I don't get how that's good looking. I'm sure art itself is subjective. People like stuff, but I've heard this as a huge point of, praise for Magic the Gathering is their art is so good. Whereas to me, I don't like the art style. I may have been overly negative with it. I don't think it's super ugly. Because I like that kind of art style with, Dungeons and Dragons, for example. I think they're made by the same company. But, a majority of Magic cards, I think, look ugly. from all the ones I've seen. There have been some good ones, of course. It's not ugly across the board. I'm not being overly negative to Magic. It's just a lot of the cards I've seen, I don't like the art style. I don't like how the combat works. I don't like the mana system. And I kind of wish I did. Because it seems like a very popular game. I'd love to try out Magic the Gathering Arena, but I just don't like so many things about it. Whereas I do like, Hearthstone and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've tried other card games too. I'm not like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Supremacist just because, I have a successful Yugioh channel. Or because I like Hearthstone. I try other card games and I give them a shot. And Slay the Spire, for example, I love that game. There was also this other one called Faria, another online card game. That one was fun. I didn't really want to learn the meta of it though, because it seemed complicated, but from a little bit I did play of it, I liked it. There was also Shadowverse. I tried that game as well. That game was neat. I didn't really play it though, because I don't know, it seemed too busy. There was some problems with the monetization model and how you got cards. And the artwork was way too busy. Every single card art had just so much detail into it. It reminded me of the prequel Star Wars movies. Every frame has to have tons and tons of detail in it. Everything's so dense. That reminds me of the artwork in Shadowverse. Despite the fact that I enjoyed the gameplay, more than well enough. There's also this one card game I play called Minion Masters. It's kind of like a Clash of Clans clone, except not pay to win. And you build a deck with cards, but you put the decks onto a playing field and they try to advance towards your enemy tower and kill it. And I love that game. I don't like Magic the Gathering, though. And despite the fact that I wish I did, because it's so popular. And, and I'm not really a huge fan of Skyrim either. I played Skyrim for 60 hours and then got bored. But I think 60 hours is more than a fair shot at trying the game. I tried the game. My friends love the game. So many people love the game. I gave it a fair shot for 60 hours. And I was like, I'm bored. I don't really care for this game very much. I like what I like. And I give things a fair shot. If I think I might like it. Which was with Magic the Gathering. And I'm sad that I didn't end up liking it. Okay, so next one. So the add-on gave you money and you spent that money on the add-on? Yeah. That's So this is in reference to the add-on called Zygor, which is a guides add-on. And the add-on, it has a $8 a month subscription for it. And I pay that. And they paid me a long time ago $40 to put a link to their add-on in the video description of two of my videos. Super easy sponsorship deal. I looked at their add-on first, and I loved it. So of course I accepted the offer. And I've definitely paid them way more in return for that monthly subscription, because I love it so much. If anything, that's just an indication of how good the product is. If, they offered me money to advertise it, and I ended up giving them money instead. So, next question. Do you ever worry that your injuries and problems will make it so you can't do something ever again? That's a painful thought, but I have back and leg problems, and I just accepted a long time ago that I'll never do martial arts again. I plan to get healthy enough to do motion acting for my life's work, and actually finish myself off and be in a wheelchair. That's how I look at it. Wait, I plan to get healthy enough to do motion acting for my life's work, and actually finish myself off and be in a wheelchair? What? Anyways, let's continue. I don't know what that sentence is trying to say. That's how I look at it, but you have your hand problems and you're just well, I'll rest them a bit and then keep using them my entire life. I don't know, it seems like you don't feel despair about it, and that's superhuman from the eyes of this half cripple. I see myself as that anyway. Maybe I should stop with that. Asides, Flying Buttress is the best YouTuber mention ever. Yeah, Flying Buttress is great. I'm going to make a video that's going to go over a couple of smaller WoW YouTuber channels that you need to subscribe to. Definitely including Flying Buttress. A very underrated channel, going under the radar. Such high quality work. So anyways, the question is, do I worry about my injuries not allowing me to do something ever again? I mean, sure, kind of. Like, I'm already basically a half cripple as well. You get used to it. Like, when you have to change your life in order to fix a problem, or, adjust your life around a problem, I've always been of the mind, just do whatever you can to fix problems that are happening with yourself. You don't want to just live in constant misery or anguish, or constantly, I don't know. I know some people who have problems in their lives that they can fix on their own, but they don't. Like, they don't know how to. They've never had to go through something like that before. So, while their problems, they're not, super minor problems or anything, there's something that we're going to have to change their lifestyle in order to fix them. Most of them are like mental problems, but they just don't do it. I don't know why. That's not something I ever do. Because I had like a really bad bout of anxiety last year. And I fixed the problem on my own once I found out it was a problem. Like, half my body was shutting down. And like, this is the reason I don't work 24/7 anymore. Because my body started to shut down on me from the immense amount of stress I was putting my body under working all the time. And it just happened like one day, half my body started going numb and I didn't know why. So I went to the doctor and they said it was probably an anxiety issue. Probably. They didn't really know. They said, we can do some neurological tests or other things. My doctor was very dismissive. I have some stories about some rude ass doctors. I'll probably have to write those down and talk about them. Anyways, I read a bunch of self-help books. I learned meditation. I did a whole bunch of life-changing things, and I'm much better now. It was a lot of hard work, and I was able to do it. And that's just because I'm used to self-improvement, I guess. And that's something I've realized is not something normal people have, because I know so many people who have problems and take no steps trying to fix it. Whereas I'm the complete opposite, and I'll go through anything, to fix problems. And it's really hard to understand why people don't do that. It's like, it's your body. Why would you not do everything possible to like make things better? So while I do have tons of health problems, none of them really bother me because you get used to it eventually. Like, I'm just used to not using my left hand to, open water bottles anymore. And I don't really think about it. Stuff like that. But, caveat, exception. I have stomach problems, and there's a lot of foods I can't eat. I hate that. I'm never gonna get used to that. I miss pizza and cheeseburgers, and I want to eat those so badly, and my extra hot, flaming hot Cheetos. I want to eat those again, but I can't. And that's the only thing that worries me. That's the only thing that I hate about myself. Like, those are the things, like, I'm basically used to at this point, but man, am I a glutton for junk food, and I want it. I want it so bad. But I can't have it because it destroys my body. Like all the other things, like I'm fine with, like all the crippled parts. My hand, my knee, my shoulder, my chest. Doesn't bother me. Not being able to eat pizza, though, or cheeseburgers, that does. Those are where my priorities lie. Despite the fact that I am physically, talented. I was good at any sport I played. I don't really care that I can't play sports anymore. I do care that I can't eat pizza, though. Ugh. Or hot Cheetos. I miss those extra hot Cheetos more than anything. Those are so good. They're so bad for you. But that's why they're so delicious. And that's probably why I didn't really say much about, it's like, oh, my hand hurts. Probably carpal tunnel. I don't know. I think there's a surgery they can do to fix it. I guess they could fix it, but as it is now, it's not going to heal on its own. because otherwise it would have healed rather than keep being injured for like the 8 months that it has been. And I guess, I don't know, I'm just wired differently. There's a lot of things I notice about myself that aren't normal. A lot of them, though, end up being personality advantages, though. So, lucky me, I guess. So anyways, on to this last question. Is there anywhere I can talk to... Wait, what? This isn't the last question. This is the second to last question. Is there anywhere I can hear you talk more about weeb shit, e.g. seasonal shows, because we have very similar tastes, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. P.S. You were the one to introduce me to The World God Only Knows, so now I love you forever. Great. I want more people to watch The World God Only Knows. That is my favorite anime. It's so good and so underappreciated. Because the World God Only Knows is really good, but it sounds like the worst show ever because of its synopsis. Its synopsis, or, the plot of the show, is basically a high school kid who loves to play video games, and one day a demon comes from hell, who looks like a normal high school girl herself, even though she's a demon, and she comes to him and he's like, I need you to help me get souls, bad souls out of people's bodies, and the only way they leave people's bodies is if you make them fall in love with you. And that's the plot of the show. This guy who's really good at video games, specifically dating sim games. That's why she sought him out. Because she's like, you're the love master, aren't you? He's like, yeah, that's my online handle. And then she forces him into a contract where he can't leave, otherwise he dies. And she's like, I need you to help me find these lost souls. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, well, if you don't do that, you're going to die. And he's like, okay, I guess I am going to do this then, because I'd rather not be dead. So how many of these are there? And she's like, well, thousands of them. And he's like, okay, so I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life then. Because he thought there would be 7 of them or something. A very reasonable number, but no. There's a near infinite amount of them. And so he has to go around the high school, because there's a lot of them in some of his classmates, and she's able to detect him with the detector, and then he has to get them to fall in love with him as quickly as possible. That way the evil soul leaves their body, and she can capture it and take it back to hell. And that's the plot of the series, and it sounds so dumb. It's not a really good thing to explain to people, because the synopsis is literally one of the worst ones ever, but it's my favorite anime. Everything about it is just executed so well. If you're able to execute a premise and have interesting characters, you can turn even the most generic setting into something great. Which is what World God Only Knows. The main character is super interesting, and everything he does is very believable. All the other characters are great as well. There's real ramifications to his actions. Later on, he gets exhausted from having to constantly meet so many different women, and it actually takes a toll on his psychological state, which is handled very well in a realistic manner. And I was like, ugh, everything about this is so good. How could one show be so good when it sounds so stupid? Oh man. It is such a good job with the 3rd season too. So, anyways, answer your question. No, I don't have anywhere where I talk about anime. I don't have time for that. Anime, that's one of the things I know a crap ton about. I watch anime every day. But I don't make any videos about it or do anything about it. That's because I like it, I like anime, and I'd rather not ruin it by making videos about it, I have an anime channel. I did try that in the early days of YouTube when I was just making videos about everything I liked. When I was still naive and wanted to make videos about things I liked, because I didn't know it would ruin it yet. So I had an anime channel. It's called I Only Play Tinker. Because I was really into Dota 2 at the time as well. I made around the same time I made the WoW and Yu-Gi-Oh channel as well. I have 12 channels I made in total, and I only upload to 4 of them regularly. But that was one of them. So there's a couple of anime videos on there. The first ones I made were about The World God Only Knows, obviously, because it's such a good show. basically talking about the differences between the episodes and the manga. And those actually did well. Like, those were some of my first, moderately successful series I did. And the reason I didn't continue them was because of just the constant copyright claims. Like, that made me give up on making anime videos. Because the copyright stuff, such a pain to deal with. And I much prefer making stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh! And WoW where you don't have to deal with that, at all. Because Blizzard lets you use everything in your videos, no problem. They're, one of the best companies for that. And if they do accidentally flag you, if you just, contact them, they'll remove it immediately. They want people to make videos about their stuff. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the same way with their cards only, not the anime. I don't talk about the anime in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm good. But with anime, it is an incredible pain in the ass to deal with YouTube's copyright system and not worth the effort. And I'm honestly surprised about how the big anime YouTubers do it. How are they able to monetize their videos with just how crappy the YouTube copyright system is and using all that anime footage that they do. And they even use music too. And I'm just like, how can you use music from the anime? They're going to flag your video. It just makes me, the YouTuber inside of me cringe is like, oh my God, they must have to fight constant claims on these videos. Ugh, I don't envy them. So that's why I don't have anything about anime. Even though I did try it and I had some early success. But if it wasn't for the copyright claim, I'd probably be a prominent anime YouTuber instead of a prominent WoW and Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTuber instead. I could still always just go back to anime. I know how to make a successful channel. And not one just specifically in WoW or Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I've already proven it by doing it twice in two separate things. I could just apply that to something else if those channels ever die. What if Yu-Gi-Oh! Stops getting support? Or WoW, actually dies? It's like, oh no, time to make another channel, I guess. Or just swap it over to, a different game or something else. Or, to an anime-focused channel. I don't know. Easy shit. I know a lot about a lot of things. I was always of the mind of having as many hobbies as possible. Because what if there's something out there that you never tried that you ended up, that you would love? So I like to keep an open mind with trying new things. And because of that, I'm a big fan of a lot of different things. And also, I don't want to ruin those things by making videos about them. And that's why I don't have anything about the seasonal shows. I did do one video like that, though, on the anime channel a few years ago, where I talked about all the currently airing shows real quickly. And I'm not going to do that again. So that does sound like it would be fun to talk about, though. Some kind of podcast thing. Something easy to make. Where I just talk about my thoughts of the seasonal animes that's airing. But also, that still seems like work that would get no views. And I'd rather just not do that, I guess. And instead just bore people in these Q&As by talking about anime stuff. Alright, so, last question. What did you throw in track? I was the manager for a track team, specifically the shot put, javelin, and pole vault manager. Yeah, I know, weird mix. Because I had zero athletic ability, but I wanted to be involved in some way. I had tons of fun making sure the equipment was ready and in good condition for the participants, so they never had to worry about anything but their performance. In high school? I was a thrower too. I threw shot put and discus. We didn't have javelin or pole vault in our high school team. And equipment was never a big deal. You just get those heavy ass shot put balls and that's about it. And the heavy discus. Yeah, I threw those two things. I think I only did track for 2 years, my sophomore and junior year. Because my senior year, I was done after football. I didn't want to do anything else. And track takes place after football's over. So I did for 2 years, and I was on varsity for both of those years. I was the only sophomore shot put thrower on varsity. And that's because I was the complete opposite of you, and I had athletic talent in everything I did. Which doesn't matter now, because my body is completely broken. But, so throwing shot put, Yeah, I did that, and I threw disc. Discus was a little bit harder. There was like one other, I don't know, I didn't really care for either of those things. It was just, you had to do track, because a lot of the football coaches were also the track coaches, and they thought track would be a good off-season workout for the football players, so they wouldn't get out of shape. So they made us do track unless we had a good reason not to. And I didn't have a good reason not to. And I decided to be a thrower because I didn't want to run. And I was good at it. But then again, that's because I was good at most things I did. It was okay, though. Like, I didn't hate it. Shot put was kind of fun. I didn't really like discus very much. But even that I was decent at. And that actually reminds me of a story. Like, at the end of these, that's the reason I chose this one to answer last, is I like to tell a personal story about myself, even though I've already told a couple of those in this Q&A. But this is one that probably won't come up in discussion. And this is a story about this one person. I don't want to say his real name, though, because I don't want to give it away. So, I'll say his name is Matthews. Matthews was this kid who joined the football team and track team, and he was the least athletic player I have ever seen. If there was something as called anti-talent, then Matthews would have it. And the thing is, though, like, what was unique about him was, despite the fact that he had no athletic talent at all, he was like 6'5". He was really tall. So the coaches would always assume at first glance that he was good. Because most of the good players, in the high school level, usually if you're tall or big, you're going to do okay. Having a big body is a huge advantage. So they always thought he would do decent at first. And they would have high hopes for him until he started showing his athletic ability. Anyways, in shot put and discus, one time we had a track meet, and the other team had a special needs person on their team. I don't know what kind of disability they had, but I think it was a mental one. So whenever that person would throw, the shot put, everyone else would clap and like give him a huge, congratulations. And he'd be like, yay, he's having a good time. They were very supportive of him, and it was very sweet to see. And then when Matthews went up to go throw, his was worse than the special needs kid. And that's the story, I guess. It's not as great telling the story, I guess, in a video, as it is, I don't know, when you actually knew the guy. Well, at least now I know it's not a really good story to tell, especially since it's not really about me. It's just someone else who wasn't very good at sports. And then he lost to a special needs kid in shot put. It did kind of relate to the track thing anyway. Alright, so that's the end of the video. There's going to be no more Q&As on this channel, and instead they will be over on the Azeroth Weather channel. So I'll have a link to that in the description. You can go subscribe to that, and if you want to ask questions for the next one, you can ask them here, and then I'll answer them over on the other channel. So, until next time, I guess.